Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Nancy Joseph, aka the Dynamic Doc. Welcome back to my channel. So I hope everyone is remaining healthy and remaining safe and getting vaccinated. I hope everyone, is now with things being a little bit less restricted because more people are getting vaccinated. So I hope everyone is getting more R&R. Whether it's more time with family members, or maybe you're able to now pick back up some hobbies that you really love. So whatever keeps you healthy, of course, while remaining safe, continue to follow, of course. I hope everyone continues to follow the guidelines of the CDC, and still taking precautions because, of course, we're still in the pandemic. We want to be safe. So, yeah. Also, we're going to link the last video down below because we'll be picking up where we left off in the last video. Also talking about vaccines. I do have a video about my COVID-19 vaccine experience. So I'll also link that down below as well. So with that, let's get started. So we will in this video talk about more about contracts a little bit and transitioning into being an attending. So, my previous video, we touched on the interview or talked about the interview process. Now, after you interview for your attending job, you will get what's called an offer letter. Now, you may have an offer letter. You may get an offer from a number of places. The difference between applying to residency, applying into fellowship, the difference between that and applying into attending is that you can have multiple offers, right? When you applied to residency, you matched into one spot. That's your spot. You start the onboarding process. That's that. When you matched into fellowship, that was your match. That was your spot. That's the place you were going. Started the onboarding process. Now, as an attending, the tables have turned to now, of course, with other programs, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you as well. However, with an attending job, you can actually weigh offers. Hey, maybe can this be added? Maybe you can negotiate some things like travel allowance or not travel allowance, moving allowance. Like, hey, are you guys going to fund my move? Hey, maybe for me, I did fellowship in Ohio and I got an attending job in Massachusetts. Well, that's a big move. And so, are you guys going to help fund that? And some specialties, that kind of comes automatic, or not automatic, more frequent. That's a more frequent perk. Also, it will largely depend on, or maybe not significant. It will significantly depend on who or how big the entity is that you are going to be working for, as far as how much they can have or offer in terms of a benefit package. That would include how much money they're going to reimburse you for your move. And sometimes they give you kind of a bonus, that a sign-on bonus. And then, and depending on what that is, that helps you decide, okay, do I go with this person? Do I go with someone else? So the benefit package is important as far as a deciding factor on if you have multiple offers. Also, hours, quality of life is important. So hours is something you want to look at, right? If I'm going to work more for this company and get paid about the same, then I might as well work less hours and get paid the same amount. Of course, if you're someone who's a free bird and you can kind of go, wherever, then you may be looking for somewhere that, sometimes you may get paid more at this place, but the cost of living is higher, so it all evens out. So you really just have to kind of take a look at that. Also, you want to keep in mind which one closest or mirrors what I want for me and my practice, mirrors that closer, and keep in mind, you don't have to have all the answers. A lot of people don't stay at their first position, and that's okay. I know at first I was like, oh no, but I want to stay. I want to have someone that's like my perfect fit. But the fact of the matter is, you as a person, you change. So you want, a great position. You want a good position that goes with, meshes well with you. You want to have gotten, get along with the staff, and you want to be a welcoming place, and you want somewhere that has support, right? You want somewhere, as a first year attending, you're gonna need support, you're gonna have questions, so you want something, or you want to work somewhere that they have the support system should you have any issues. You want you want a place that has guidance on the onboarding process. Oftentimes if it's private practice, that's the office manager who will be helping you with the large amount of paperwork that you'll be doing. And so those are the things that you look for when you're deciding on where to start. And, in addition to salary, in addition to hours, in addition to benefit package. So that's that. So here you are. We're jumping back to the offer letter. You get the offer letter. If you have multiple, you kind of weigh the package, and then you reply, hey, thanks for the offer, yes. Or you may even, negotiate the salary if you can. Again, this is different. The salary is set for fellowship, for fellows, in that fellowship or that place. The salary, that state. The salary is set for residency. But this time you have negotiating power. So use it. And then another thing you can do, or you should do, is you're going to get an offer, and you're going to sometimes you'll get like a sample, you'll get a contract. When you get your contract, you want someone to look at that. Someone other than you. Because you don't want to just look at it like, oh, it looks good. You want someone to at least take a look at it. Number one, a lot of times your program director, for me, again, a lot of my attendings were in private practice. My program director is a private practice owner. So they know good things, bad things. Okay, take a look at that. Ask more information about that type of thing. Because you want to look at non-competes. Okay, if I decided this is not the place for me, how far away should I, what's the restriction? Oftentimes if it's like, okay, if you feel like this practice is not for you, you want to leave, that's fine, but you can't practice within X radius of our clinic sites. And if this is a place with multiple sites, well, it's going to limit you, especially if that's the location, your preferred city. So you want to look at that. Sometimes there are contracts that say, hey, that's great, you can work for us, but you cannot work for anybody else, which means moonlighting can't be a thing. Or maybe you do some extra hours at this place. There are some contracts that said, no, you can't do that. You can't work in the capacity of getting paid as, for work as a physician if you work for us. There are people who say, if you make any money as a physician, we get that cut. So that's another thing that you want to make sure to keep in mind, because that means if you patent anything, we get a cut of that. While you're working for us. So those are things to keep in mind. So that's, and there's lawyers, contract lawyers. Again, I'm not an expert in contracts, but there are contract lawyers. Get a lawyer, take a look at the contract. They may direct you. They'll likely direct you to ask certain things that you may not have thought to ask. So make sure you do that. And, provided that everything goes well, you accept the offer, sign the contract, and then they'll start the onboarding process. So very similar in terms of the process of okay, now you have to do paperwork. If you're changing states, you got to get licensing in that state. Please budget that time. That takes a long time to get licensing. So the moment you get offer letter and you're just kind of negotiating the contract and you think you're probably going to sign, go ahead and apply for a license in that state if you're changing states. And sometimes they can reimburse you for that, the fee. And then go from there, because you're going to need malpractice insurance information from your current practice or your fellowship, and you're going to need some information from them. So that process, that paperwork, takes a while. So you want to get started on that as soon as. That's why you want to go ahead and make a decision on the practice and all that stuff 6 months before you're supposed to be graduating for fellowship, because you want to graduate fellowship and be able to start. If you want to take some time off, that's your time. That's your ability to say, hey, you know what, I'll start in August, and you'll take July off, or you'll take 2 weeks off, or maybe you'll take vacation where you'll take 2 weeks off after fellowship. But give yourself time to move. Give yourself time to acclimate. You don't want to, move to an attending job and then start the next day or a couple of weeks later, move this weekend, and then the next month on Monday you start. You don't want that. So get somebody to look at your contract. Once you sign your contract, you want to do that early. You want to start paperwork early. You want to make sure you have support. And then you want to transition into being an attending. When you transition into being an attending, you want to make sure that you know where your supports and resources are, because the first year, just like anything else, it's a steep learning curve, but it is challenging. You're not going to be like, hey, such, you won't be able to call after every patient. You won't be able to just like go present and then run your plan by somebody else. You have to now have the autonomy now, and it's going to be up to you to make that decision as to what you're doing, as to what do you feel comfortable. And during that first year as an attending is when you figure out, where do I lie? This attending would do this attending would do that. Where do I lie? Where's my comfort level in terms of where I'd go with this treatment plan, with this management plan, that type of thing. And you'll run into, things that you didn't see in fellowship, or maybe things you saw but not quite this way, that type of thing. And that's all part of the learning part. And then, it's usually helpful if you're in a practice where maybe it's like, you're working with others simultaneously. They're seeing their patients, you're seeing your patients. Maybe during lunch you can run things by them, and then they can kind of help you with the clinic. Before you start in fellowship, as an attending, you want to go ahead and take a look at that clinic. Okay, where are things? What's the flow? Where do I need, where do I find this? Where do I find that? If you're working in an EMR system, usually there's like some training that goes on to talk about that EMR. And to be honest, they can do that training, as from whether, where you're going, when you're going into residency, when you're going to fellowship. You'll forget a lot of it, but you'll get the basics. And as you go, you'll, kind of pick up some things and realize what your flow is. But give yourself grace, give yourself time, know that it's a steep learning curve. Know that first year, you're going to be learning a lot, and you're going to, oh, did I do that right? Did I do this? And that's where a mentor comes in handy. Mentorship is very important. That's where, again, your attending, definitely keep in touch with them. Usually they're like, hey, now that you're attending, welcome to the club. Here's my cell. So you want to use that judiciously, but you want to make sure that, you know your resources and people you can run to when you're just like really stumped. Or if you're maybe not stumped, but you really want to talk about, like, here's what I'm feeling. Is this a normal feeling as, residency, and attending the first few months? In addition, you want to be able to, okay, here I am in this practice, figure out like, okay, this is good for me. It's a good fit for me here. Or maybe I want to ask if I can add this element. But again, you want to acclimate a little bit more and then kind of figure out your judge, like, okay, where do I lie in terms of practice, but also maybe there's a couple of things you need to help your flow a little better. And oftentimes practices, office managers, maybe the practice owner are open and amenable to that. So so with that, that's kind of where I am. Currently I'm in my first two, going into my second year as an attending. And again, steep learning curve. I've learned a ton. My comfort level now is way higher than it was last year, and I'm very thankful and grateful for that. I have great resources. I have people that I can run to, definitely past attendings, definitely some new mentors that I acquired. Get yourself a support system. There's often local medical societies that you can network with. So yeah, first year attending, support system, network, give yourself grace, and stay motivated, and whatever you need to recharge, whatever you need to stay sustained, whatever you need to stay healthy, make sure you do that. So with that ends our journey videos. So stay tuned. I got some stuff on the way, some exciting new things. So make sure to stay tuned, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Be safe, be blessed. Peace.